Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whatever time it is you are listening. Welcome to the Three Rivers podcast, the podcast where we take a closer look at what's going on in your council and talk to the people making it happen. This episode is a special one because today, the 20th of June, is World Refugee Day, a day where the world honours the strength and courage of people who have been forced to flee their home country to escape conflict or persecution. I'm James Bagley, Three Rivers District Council's Senior News and Communications Officer. Joining me today is Councillor Raj Khiroya, the outgoing chair of Three Rivers District Council. Councillor Khiroya, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, James. How are you?
Oh, I'm great, thank you. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Now, Councillor Khiroya, you were chair of the council for a year and a half, I want to say. Maybe a bit longer? Or
About 18 months.
18 months, yeah. For those who don't know, that means you were chairing full council meetings, getting involved with the community and attending community events in the district, as well as raising money for your chosen charities, which I think you raised about 20k, your targets. So
Absolutely.
so well done.
Thank you.
What people may not know is that you were a son of a refugee, and as it's World Refugee, it's quite apt. So can you please tell us more about that, Raj, about where you're from and your parents' story?
So, I was born in Uganda. I came to England when I was 17 years old as a student. Unfortunately, with the political situation in Uganda in 1972, I could not return back. And Uganda was once upon a time my home. England was where I came to study. Suddenly, England was my home and Uganda was where parents were stuck.
And just for those who don't know, if I can just give some context. So on the 4th of August 1972, Ugandan President Idi Amin, who had seized power in a military coup the previous year, ordered the expulsion of his country's Asian population and gave them 90 days to leave the country. He scapegoated the Asian community for Uganda's economic downturn and warned that any remaining after the deadline risked being imprisoned in camps. Uganda's Asian community, although representing a small minority of the population, about 70,000 at the time, was estimated to be responsible for around 90% of Uganda's tax revenues. Roughly 30,000 Ugandan Asians would come to the UK over the months that followed to start new lives, leaving homes and businesses in the country of their birth. Now, if I'm right understanding, Raj, before your parents came to England, they had a business or two, didn't they? So what was life like for them before Idi Amin?
It was a dream. Uganda, known as the Pearl of Africa. I was born there. We had a fantastic life. My father was a very successful businessman, and we're third generation East African Indians. And for us, it was really, I can't tell you how beautiful life was. It all came to suddenly an end. And I suddenly realized few home truth. When we were in Uganda, we were not black enough. When we came to England, we were not white enough. And suddenly realized that we were caught between the two different countries and we had nowhere to go.
So when your parents came to UK from Uganda, how hard was it for them to rebuild their lives in the UK?
If I can just tell you a bit about what happened in those 90 days, which Idi Amin had given to all the Asians to leave the country. In those 90 days, I was here in the UK at that time. I was here as a student. My father and my brother were kidnapped by the military, and they were taken away and they were lost for 5 days. we knew nothing. We didn't know what had happened to them. Every day we were getting ransom demand. My mum was completely lost. After 5 days, having paid millions out in ransom, my father and my brother came home. And unfortunately, they came back again within a day and took them again. And this time, they wanted even more money. It was difficult to pay that kind of money when you couldn't even get the money out of the bank. So my mum, unfortunately, had to sell everything, what we had. And she had to also borrow money to pay the ransom for the second time. When the second demand was delayed, they tore my father and my brother's passport in the military barracks. They suddenly became refugees. They suddenly became stateless. So the question now was, even if we managed to get them out, how would they travel? Where would they travel? They had no travel documents. So for me, I really was lost here. I went to see my headmaster at the college, asking him for some help and advice. I was a president of Students' Union, and I was also president of Overseas Students. And he kindly guided me. I went to see Home Minister at that time. My father was released, and after a long, long fight, they managed to get their British passport back. And he traveled to UK with £50 in his pocket. He was 62 years old. So, unfortunately, all of us had to give up our studies, and we had to get a job. My father was too proud to claim any money from the government. And furthermore, it was such a difficult time for us. We had no carpet in the house. We had no settee in the house. We were living as a joint family. And my dad got his first job working in a petrol station, earning £15 a week. I gave up my college and I got a job in a travel company, earning £18 a week. But one thing he kept on telling me, we need to be together to survive. I recall once I told him, wish you had taken some money out. You wouldn't be in this position. And his response was, they only took our money. They didn't take our hands. They didn't take our brain. If we stay together, we work together, we will always be together. And that was his motto. Let's work as a family.
Yeah, that's very, I guess, noble of him, because I mean, obviously that was a very dark period of your life, but I suppose he didn't want despair, what happened to you, to break your spirits, continue on as you're trying to, I suppose, rebuild your lives in the UK. What was his experience like in the refugee system at that time?
So, to be fair to the British government, we were allocated a number of refugee centres, which was former Royal Air Force bases.
Oh, yes.
And people were allocated all places, different barracks. But I didn't let my parents go in any of the barracks. I'd managed to save money, and my brother was a dentist. And we we had bought a house. So I brought my parents. I remember when they landed in Stansted, I told them that, thank you very much. We don't need the place. We will take them home. So in that respect, people were dispersed all over the UK. We were very grateful for the way we were welcomed, very grateful with every services that was provided to us, eternally grateful for the red carpet, so to say. Because this is where, when you left everything back and we were third generation, you can imagine being uprooted with the family. But however, reflecting on it today, being a refugee day, I feel proud to tell you that Britain has been so welcoming, and I'm proud to call myself British. And I stand today to say that we work hard, and this is the result of our success today.
Do you think this experience, what your father and brother and yourself have been through, do you think that, I guess, your heritage in a way, as being Ugandan, shaped your approach and outlook to life?
100%. I was born with a silver spoon, so to say, but suddenly realized that we didn't have two pennies to rub together at a very young age. I suppose that teaches you a number of things you wouldn't learn from college. I always wanted to study law. That was my dream. I wanted to go to one of the top universities in London. Unfortunately, I could never fulfill my dreams. But I say I managed to get a degree from the street, which has taught me a number of things. And that is the reason why I feel that this is an important lesson for all of us. Never take anything for granted in life.
Absolutely. I mean, it is important as well to not just yourself, but all refugees, for them to tell their stories, tell their history. We still remember the history, and we still remember the lessons learned. So, have you told your sons about what their grandfather went to, and what was their reaction?
It's it's a good question. I've two boys, and they know exactly what has happened to our family and our family history. As a matter of fact, I took them back to Uganda. I showed them our house. I showed them my old school. And I told them, never ever forget your roots. Never forget where you came from. But on the same note, always be proud and adopt the country. So both of them born in Watford. So they call themselves British, but they also know that the grandfather and the forefathers came from Uganda.
And how did they find Uganda whilst they were there? Was it quite a surreal experience? Was it quite an emotional journey for you?
It was a very emotional journey for me. For them, for my children, it was an eye-opener, I would say. They couldn't believe how simple the life was there. Because obviously they are used to all this, all the modern gadgets. But at that time, obviously, the life was different. But I said to you now that all these are lessons we wouldn't learn in your daily life. These are things you remember for life. Always there to be a giver, never a taker. And these are the lessons we learn. And that's the reason why I've adopted my life to help people.
So in a way, that's like one of the reasons why you got into local politics as well.
Yes, and this is the reason why I've lived here in this area for 40 years. I'm proud to live here, and I always want to try and see how we can improve our facilities and how to help people. As I say, knowledge is power. And if we can share that knowledge, other people can benefit from it.
No, absolutely. I suppose another question that I have is you talked about your time in Uganda and your sons, but did your father ever return, and your brother as well, have they ever returned to Uganda?
My father returned. I took him back. My father was an extremely strong-minded. Unfortunately, my brother didn't. They were tortured by the army. My brother, still even today, has never kind of recovered, and he's never returned back. But my father did, and we went back to claim our asset, and so it was an emotional journey for him. Luckily, we did manage to get some of our real estate back.
Was that in the 90s? Because I believe the then president welcomed back people who were displaced by Idi Amin.
Yes, it was in early 90s. We managed to get the properties back. That was an experience again, trying to claim what is officially yours. My father was always a fighter, and he said, what we're claiming is rightfully ours. It brings other difficulties as well within the family, because once upon a time he had bought it with his brothers, and then you're trying to share it with the siblings. It brought other difficulties. You can appreciate that.
Yeah, some more drama into the mix.
Yeah.
Finally, Councillor Khiroya, it's World Refugee Day. I suppose, what does that mean to you? I know you touched on it earlier, but just to sort of sum up, what does World Refugee Day mean to you?
So, the World Refugee Day is something that we must recognize, understand the journey, understand why were they uprooted in the first place. And this is something that we need to understand. Everybody has a story. Everybody has their own way of expressing. I am proud to say I'm a son of a refugee, and I'm proud to say that this is something we need to understand.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I mentioned earlier, it's good to tell the stories of refugees and family members of refugees. So the history of what happened in the past is always remembered, and the lessons are kept fresh in our minds. So events like what you went through and what other people have been through don't happen again, hopefully.
Yeah, unfortunately, easier said than done. It happens, you can see even today, is happening in other parts of the world. It's something we can always hope and pray that things like this don't happen again.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, Councillor Khiroya. We greatly appreciate you for having you on the podcast, and thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It's greatly appreciated.
So it's been an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for actually bringing this notice of the people.
No.
And this is an important message.
No, absolutely, and you're very welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you.